And there's a bit of a grudge, or there's a little bit of history between these two players. It's a little bit of a grudge match. NightMare versus Solar, they have been facing off recently, and a couple of weeks ago in the qualifiers for this season of GSL, they did face off in said qualifier, and NightMare brought down Solar 2-1. We were lucky enough to cast it on this channel. The VODs are available on Twitch, and yeah, it was wild that, again, a quote-unquote another upset did occur there, but we'll see if the Zerg player can redeem himself. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming. It is Solar. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Team Abydos. It is NightMare. Oh boy, and I'm sure NightMare, he can breathe a little bit easier as he gets into this next game. And meanwhile, ooh, that was a 14 hatchery there from, I'm pretty sure that was a 14 hatchery from Solar. You do love to see it. So this is an opener that has been rising in popularity recently in the Korean scene. I know that we saw Eric popularize the 15 hatch, but the 14 hatch is also making a resurgence, or making a debut. So Solar was able to get down his natural base on location just before the probe showed up. But yeah, I'm sure NightMare can breathe a little bit easier in a sense, just because Solar is a lot less all-in compared to Silky, and something like a 2-base Ling Bane bust that we saw last game by Silky is not something that we're going to be seeing from Solar. It's not really his MO. Not what he is known for. Again, Solar, he thrives a lot more in the mid to late game instead. And with this, again, a pretty standard opener. Because he was able to get his natural base up and running, this is a little bit inefficient, in a sense that he does delay droning a little bit early on, but it does mean that he's going to have a much more safer setup here early on against Adepts and Oracles. It means that he has a much faster creep spread between the bases. It means that he can make use of this choke point at the natural as well, so he can wall off against Glaive Adepts. He's just in a much more better defensive position. As we do have NightMare going for a Stargate opener once again. Okay. And this is where I have to worry a little bit for Solar. NightMare's a very fast player. We saw NightMare basically win game 2 against Silky off of the back of his harassment, off of the back of a couple of Adepts and a couple of Oracles, and we have seen that happen as well against Solar during the GSL qualifiers. Likewise, NightMare was able to cripple the economy of Solar early on and really pull him apart, pick off worker after worker. So Solar, he's going to have to tighten up his defenses and make sure he can keep up here with the movement of NightMare. First Adept is just going to be threatening, is just going to be scouting, confirming, hey, we have workers, hey, we have a third base as well. NightMare just making sure he's not being all in. Oh. As NightMare is going for a Void Ray first. Okay, so this could be for a multitude of different things. The most obvious thing to begin with is that the Void Ray is going to deny scouting information. It is going to keep Solar in the dark. So if NightMare goes for something like Glaive Adepts, like a Twilight, like a really fast Twilight Council behind this, it will go unscouted. And Solar would have no idea. Likewise, he could go for an Oracle, for a third base, and go for Blink, go for a standard follow-up, and Solar also wouldn't have an idea. So yeah, Solar, this is just a way to keep the Zerg player guessing. This is just a way to have that kind of mental advantage over your opponent and keep this sense of uncertainty over the Zerg. As the third base is on the way, we do have the Oracle in production, and this Oracle was spotted by the Overlord. Solar is aware that it's in production. But this is a fast Twilight Council. Oh. Okay, this is a fast Twilight Council. We only have one Oracle. There isn't a second Oracle on the way. This is looking like Glaives. This is looking like Glaive Adepts. There is no Forge either. We'll see what NightMare goes for. And again, the point of this build is to catch the Zerg player off guard. The first Void Ray gets across the map. We do force the Spore. A second Spore even. Oh. We Don't get any drone kills. At the same time, the Oracle dives into the main base as well, and we're going to be able to get a couple more workers. Quite a bit of hull damage is done, though, as the Oracle is forced into the bottom left-hand corner of the map, and there it is. There's Glaives. So we've seen this kill Dark. We've seen this kill Solar. The scary thing about this is that this is supposed to look normal. There's a third base. There's an Oracle. You know, like, this is supposed to look like +1 Blink Stalkers. He's supposed to sell this story and make Solar believe it. The fact that we have Glaives on the way, this is going to catch Solar off guard. This could do a lot of economic damage if Solar is too greedy, if he's too economic. We actually casted this last night. Last night, Demaga lost to Jeshi with this very same build. Demaga was just completely caught off guard on Ancient Cistern as well. As Solar is droning. Thankfully, Solar does have a Roach Warren on the way, and it is going to finish up in time. So Solar's playing this safe. He knows that this could be a possibility and is preparing for it. His Lings are being very active as well, and they should recognize, hold on, especially if they move over towards the left-hand side, that there are more Adepts than there should be. And there we go. The Adepts have been spotted. Solar knows to make Roaches. Roaches are now on the way. He's fully aware of the Glaive Adepts and is preparing back at home. The Queens are getting in position. The Lings are racing back home. The Roaches are on the way. We have a wall-off being set up here at the Natural as well. Solar just going for all the right moves. We have the Shade, but we have a wall. This is this is textbook defense here out of Solar. Once again, the Roaches and Queens have arrived. The fourth base is under threat, but the Queens are not too far behind. They do chase away that Void Ray. For Adepts, they do cancel the Shade even. He wants to cancel this fourth. Up, and he should be able to get it. Ooh. So NightMare does some damage, but again, he was looking for so much more. As he gets 0 economic damage. 3 drones died earlier to the Oracles, but the Glaive Adepts actually, they killed no workers, which is crazy, by the way. Like, it's so difficult to pull this off, but again, Solar was able to piece it all together, and he was able to react in time. Meanwhile, back at home, NightMare was also quick to transition. He did throw down a very fast Forge right after Glaive, so it looks like he was preparing ahead of time. That he wouldn't be able to deal damage. Meanwhile, another Oracle dives into that third base. No Spores are in position. 3 more drones go down. The Adepts are still pressuring, and they have to. These Adepts, they need to find some value, and they're still alive at least. But we're looking for some drone kills, ideally. But again, because Blink is late, we are going for a second Robo, a Bay, into double Colossus production. And if we get to that 4 Colossus count, we should be safe to a ground push. Should be safe. NightMare playing on a knife's edge. Up! Oh, Void Ray overextends and is going to go down. Not the biggest loss, but a loss nonetheless. Meanwhile, Solar, he goes in for a follow-up scout. He's trying to figure out how all-in his opponent is. If there's like a Sky Toss transition as well. He sees all the gateways. He hasn't seen the Robos yet. But here we go. The Colossi do reveal themselves. 2 Colossus is a pretty potent number. 4 is better, but we're getting there. The initial 2 are enough for now. We're pushing on forward. We're denying the 5th base. Dancing with the army. Once again, a couple of Adepts do shade in. 3 drones go down. Very nicely done. And I don't think NightMare is going to be able to push into this 4th, but he's trading with the army. He's forcing Solar to make more Roaches, make more Lings. Ooh, and NightMare, with this Prism, he can reinforce. He's actually doing quite well for himself. Does take a bow to the face. We have another wave of Ravagers on the way. NightMare has to be careful not to overextend though. He has to respect this army. Oh, but he blinks on forward. The Queens are going to be going down. Solar, he's going for a massive counterattack instead. When he may just give up this position. Once again, Biles will connect, but the Stalker army is doing so much damage. The Ling counterattack doesn't do much either. We do have a defensive orbit. More Biles are connecting though. The Stalker count is being thinned out. But are we getting enough Roaches? I think we are. I think NightMare is breaking on through. This Link counterattack didn't do enough damage. The Banelings do crash on in. We get 6 probes, but again, that's not what we're looking for. We needed the Mineral Line. We needed a little bit more as NightMare is defending back at home. 4th base has been broken. And yeah, NightMare, can he keep pushing from here? It's really risky. Is it really risky to try to pull off, but here we go. He's waiting for his reinforcements. They do come from across the map. He goes for another warp in as well. Solo trying to figure out what the economic state is, and now he finally gets eyes on the 4th. And I don't think we have enough Ravagers to hold on. I think NightMare, he can keep on pushing. We have another Link counterattack. This time, there's nothing of him to defend. We do have a bit of a delayed warp in. Meanwhile, these Colossi are getting very low. We need to preserve these Colossi so much. No, we run into the piles. The first Colossus goes down. Meanwhile, the Link counterattack does get cleaned up. Didn't get any damage done. Only forced to warp in. And NightMare is pulling this off. He's getting on top of the Ravagers once again. And he's done it. GG gets called. NightMare takes game number 1. Whew, oh my god. GG, well played. It was a risky move from Solar to send so many Lings across the map for that counterattack. Unfortunately for Solar, they killed like 6 probes. They didn't really do much damage at all. That was supply that was otherwise maybe necessary back at home. It would have been difficult. Like, obviously, ideally, you want those Lings to surround the army to actually get on top of the Colossus. But because of all the stasis traps, yeah, Solar, he didn't really, he couldn't really engage what he wanted to. He couldn't really engage the way that he wanted to, and oh boy, he didn't really have the creep spread there either to really force back NightMare. Meanwhile, NightMare, shout out to him for actually preserving his Colossus count and his Stalker count as well for such a long time. He was trading as efficiently as possible. And with that, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Gressfarm, we have the South Korean Zerg player who is currently down in this series, 1 more loss, and he is eliminated from the entire tournament. Representing Onside Gaming, it is Solar. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Team Abydos, leading the series 1-0. It is NightMare. Oh, here we go. Again, NightMare, recently he's been getting some really good results against Solar. I mentioned it earlier, but last week we casted the GSL qualifiers, and NightMare did defeat Solar then as well. Did beat him in a best of 3 to qualify for GSL. So, yeah, NightMare getting stronger and stronger, at least when it comes to his PvZ. I think for a long time he was known for his PvT. Like, I think we still praise him a lot. Whenever he plays against Bjorn or Gumiho or Cure, like, NightMare looks really good. But here against Zerg, he's also finding some success. Really cool to see him growing as a player. So we do load into Gressfarm. See in the chat, so good defense. Exactly, like every single, like it was, I want to say 2 or 3 times, Solo went for Lingbane counterattacks, and at every turn, NightMare, he just wasn't losing anything. It almost felt like he was preserving a lot of his warp-ins for those counterattacks. Like whenever there was a counterattack, he did have the warp-ins available to defend back at home. And the reason why he was allowed to do that as well was because he wasn't really losing too many Stalkers, or even the Colossi throughout his push. One Colossus did die, but at the very end of the game, when it didn't really matter. He had already just squeezed out so much value from them. I do agree with the sentiment though that I was shocked as well to see double robo production, but to only go for a double Colossus timing. I expected more Colossi to be reinforcing from across the map. But I guess if you don't lose your Colossi, it doesn't matter, I guess. Yeah, regardless, like, it was very well executed by NightMare. Very well done. as we do have our openers underway. This time Solar was forced to take the unnatural natural. So, oh my god, not just that. So that means it's going to be a little bit more awkward and a little bit more difficult to defend against Glaive Adepts. He won't be able to wall off as well as he did. Bearing in mind that in game 1, Solar completely shut down the Glaive Adept follow-up from NightMare. Like, it did no damage. It was very impressive, but a big reason for that was because he did expand at the natural location, and he was able to have the creep here to wall off. Meanwhile, across the map, Twilight Council opener. Straight into the roadway. We haven't pulled out a gas. This is looking like a DT opener. Show us the Dark Shrine. Oh, no, never mind. We do pull out a gas. Bit of a later pull out, but a pull out nonetheless. And we are going for Glaives. So this should be for 4-gate Glaive Adepts. If we wanted to throw down a 5th and 6th gateway, then we would probably stay in gas. So there we go. We have the additional gates on the way. Stalker does come out, trying to shoo away these overlords, and as a reminder, 4-gate Glaive Adept isn't committed, it isn't all in, it is just designed to, you know, force a reaction out of the Zerg player, get a couple of drone kills, sure, but you expand behind it. You do typically take a 3rd base. There it is, NightMare is getting ready for that expansion. Meanwhile, the Overlord of Solar trying to get a scout off. So he should be aware that it's a Twilight Council opener, but for all Solar knows, it could be a charge all-in, it could be a DT opener, could be Glaive Adepts. And even if it is Glaive Adepts, it could be committed, maybe it isn't. He still has to figure that out. As he does confirm the gas mining, he did throw down a safety Roach Warren earlier. Roach Warren is about to finish up, just in time. And Solar, a little bit of a gamble here. He actually did not throw down any spores. So if it was DTs, he would maybe be in a bit of trouble, but no. Oh my god, so much damage already being done here to this Prism. Lings do keep up with the shade. Solar, he cut workers at 38. He's got roaches on the way as well. This is looking like a pretty solid hold out of Solar. NightMare, oh, his transition is going to be a Dark Shrine first. The Dark Shrine is thrown down at the natural. 4th base is delayed. Oh god, but the Lings are here, and we're going to force a cancel on this 3rd. Oof. Unfortunate for NightMare. A big cancel. A big delay on that 3rd. Lings, they come in for a 2nd time. This time they find a little bit less success as the Adepts are here. Now, these Adepts, these DTs, they don't need to do too much damage, but they do provide a lot of map control to Solar once they morph into Archons, like if they don't find any economic damage initially. Meanwhile, again, Solar, he cut corners, as we do have a massive surround on these Adepts. Every single Adept is going to be going down. An ill-advised shade from NightMare. Still no spores, still no lair. I'm really concerned. I am quite concerned here for Solar, but there we go. Lair is now on the way in the main base. Dark Shrine did just finish up. And here we go. The DTs are on the way. Now, unfortunately... Oh, no. They get warped in back at home. The Ling may have seen it. I'm unsure about that. I do. There was potential for damage. There totally was potential for damage, but NightMare, he's going for the Archon drop instead. Spores are now on the way. Lair now about to finish up. 100% there was a window. There was a window here to do damage with these DTs, but NightMare, it looks like he was lacking in his confidence a little bit. He wasn't really thinking that he would be able to, you know, catch Solar with his pants down. As instead, we're just going to be harassing, cleaning up tumors, getting overlords. The Invisible Man is so powerful. They could have done so much, but alas, not this time. Meanwhile, oh, the Prism taking a lot of hits and just barely survives. Oh my god. Up. Oof. 3 HP. The 3 HP Prism barely does escape with those Archons. Did do a lot of damage. Got, what, 2 Overlords, a good amount of tumors, but is forced back. Behind this, Third base is being saturated. We have the Robo, the Bay already done. Second Robo, actually. So it looks like we're going into double Colossus production again. Oh, no. Risky move, but I like it. We are skipping Disruptor production and going... Sorry, we're skipping Colossus production and going straight into Disruptors instead. Meanwhile, the army has arrived once again, just flirting here with the forces of Solar. He doesn't want to commit. No, he's just having a good time. Picking up whatever tumors he can. Massive Link counterattack is being set up. Does get a shield battery. Not much else. This is going to be putting NightMare on notice. And after all the chaos of the early game, Solar is able to take his 4th, take his 5th, and have a pretty solid worker count. Like, economically, Solar's looking really good. He's running up to 80, getting his 5th up and running, taking his gases as we speak. I believe Roach Speed is done. Yeah, Lingbane Roach Ravager is the composition of choice for Solar. Very solid. Oh, and he is looking to pull apart his opponent. We have Lings harassing and looking to deny the 4th base, and we're going to force a cancel. That's a kill, not a cancel. NightMare, who is focusing on the main push. He does set out both of his Novas, and those are the only ones he had. Oof. He only had 2 Purification Novas, and now Solar, he can just keep on pushing in. There we go. 2 more Disruptors pop out just in time. NightMare unable to hold on to his 4th. I should be looking to expand now, though, as Solar gives him a moment to breathe, backs off, consolidates his army, and now Solar has maxed out. He has maxed out on Lingbane Roach Ravager. Obviously, Purification Novas can still make a fight here for NightMare, but a solid dodge from Solar. The splits are real. It looks like he wants to surround this army. He's coming in from behind as well. The Disruptors, they are unawares. The Lings are getting on top of them. We do have a couple of Novas going off, and they will connect with 1 Ravager. But the Disruptors are stuck. They get exposed, and it looks like the majority of them should be going down. But the Roach army, though, is trickling out. Again, the Stalkers did well for themselves, even though we may have lost... Oh my god. We lost 5 Disruptors, and we didn't really get too many connections with those Purification Novas. We at least did survive. NightMare was able to hold on. 4th base is going to get up and running. But Solar is looking to remax and do that again. This time, though, with Vipers. Hive is done, Vipers are on the way, and if the Disruptors were an issue earlier, now they won't be. And they weren't an issue earlier. They're not existent. There's only 2 left. NightMare just trading a little bit too inefficiently, was caught out of position. And now Solar is in a much more commanding lead here with his army, remaxing once again for the 2nd time. Oh, and can NightMare react in time? We do have the Banelings rolling on in, and there's the reaction! 11 probes go down. This may just be too much. Nova gets wasted as well. It does feel like, yeah, the pressure may be getting to NightMare. Usually it's a little bit easier to defend on Gressvan, but just because of how much that hasn't been going NightMare's way this game, he's in a really rough place. Oh, it's up to 5 Disruptors now. Oh, decent connection on those Lings. But the zoning Nova is going to be forced. Meanwhile, the Banelings, they roll in once again. Oh, this time only 7 probes go down. The Lings, so they go for a full surround. Novas are going to be going off, but it looks like we just don't have enough. Oh. As the remaining Banelings even head towards the mineral line once again. If you're a probe, look away, Poppy, look away. Another 3 probes go down. As this entire time, Solar, his economy has been left untouched. Like, NightMare has been stuck at home. He hasn't been able to apply any pressure here to the Zerg player, to Solar. And he's just been able to happily remax time and time again. Take more gases, take more bases, spread his creep. NightMare is forced into a push, but he's pretty all in from here. And the Lings, the Baitings, they come in from behind. A good Nova goes up on the Roaches. Another good Nova as well. But there's just too much on the ground. There's too much Zerg on the dance floor as Stalkers go down left and right. GG gets called, and Solar will tie up the series 1-1 and force the ace match. GG, well played. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. We have a game 3. And again, that was a bit of a shaky start for NightMare. The initial Glaive Adept opener didn't do too much damage, if any damage. He was forced to cancel his third base. The DT follow-up didn't do anything either. The Archons, they got a couple of Overlords, sure, but again, it was quite lackluster there from NightMare. And as a result, because of how solid the early game was for Solar, he was able to really exert himself, really have a comfortable economy, and just continue to keep his opponents on the back foot. There was a lot of potential with the first fight, because I think we had like 5 or 6 disruptors, but because of the surround, NightMare, he just had a really hard time preserving his disruptors, never really getting to critical mass. Just pulled apart left and right. And now we're going to game 3. All the way. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Babylon. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming, tying up the series 1-1 in the last game. It is Solar. Oh, let's go. Going for the 15 hatch. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Team Arbidos. It is NightMare. Solo, of course, a massive Eric fan. Going for the 15 hatchery. For those wondering, I think it was last series. Sorry, game 1. I think it was in game 1. Solo went for a 14 hatch. Here in game 3, Solo's going for a 15-15. Again, the reason for these earlier hatcheries is because if you don't do this, this probe gets here in time to deny your base and to force you to take an unnatural natural, which can sometimes be really awkward on specific maps, especially when it comes to defending against adepts and defending against oracles as well. So Solar is willing to have a little bit of an inefficient start, like drone-wise, this is inefficient because it delays your overall economy, in favor of just having a really secure start here with his with his bases. With this, he's also going to have a faster queen because it's a hatch pool opener, hatch pool gas. So the pool is a little bit earlier, so we have a faster queen. We have faster creep spread as well. It is very safe, very safe. So really cool stuff, and it makes sense on Babylon. We were talking about it in the previous series, but Babylon is typically a map that favors aggressive play, and NightMare is one to make use of that aggression. Ooh, as his pylon placement is behind the mineral line. Interesting. Typically, if it's a Stargate opener, you would have the pylon a little bit further out so that your Oracle can get across the map faster. Because it's behind the mineral line, this does feel like a Twilight Council, but we'll see. We'll see. It's also possible that NightMare just wants to hide his initial tech, regardless of what it is, just to keep Solar in the dark. As the Stalker is being chronoed out, but the Overlord is diving all the way in, and it looks like it won't see the pylon. Up. Yeah, pylon will not be spotted yet. Twilight Council is thrown down. Again, because of the pylon placement, that did kind of did allude to that. We'll see if it's another Glaive Adept opener, or if it's going to be something like DTs. Oh. Robo is thrown down. Be keeping an eye on these gases back at home. Solar, he's just droning up his bases, getting his natural fully saturated. And again, I'm sure he's pretty reliant on this Overlord to figure out what is going on. Oh, let's go. It is going to be the Dark Shrine opener. We have not pulled out of gas this time. It is going to be for those DTs. Now, I do think that a DT opener would have found a lot more success in the last game. I mean, we know that just because we saw how heavily Solar was skipping out on those spores. I'm worried if he does the same here. I am concerned. Gateways are on the way. And Solar still is in the dark. He's sending out his Lings as we speak, trying to get an eye on any kind of third base being taken here from his opponent. Oh, we got a lot of Lings on the way as well from Solar. We've hit the 4-minute mark. Roach Warren is thrown down for this honoring. 4 minutes is around the time you want to throw down a safety Roach Warren if you feel like your opponent is, you know, not quite going for a Stargate opener. Roach Warren is going to finish up in time. Adepts are moving out. NightMare is making it look like he wants to expand. Making it look like he is zoning his opponent away from the potential third base. But here we go. The Prism has arrived. I don't see a Spore. Uh-oh. No spores whatsoever. Again, NightMare, he's making it look like Laves. He's showing Adepts. And he warps in DTs immediately. Spores are thrown down. Solar, he sees the warp in. He knows what's going on, but the Spore isn't done yet. He needs to hold position around this Spore, and he needs to keep it alive. One DT headed towards the third base. It looks like the Spore at the third is going to finish in time. And he didn't head into the natural. Solar, he's going to be safe. Spore does finish. Prism being zoned away. Now, to be fair, the spores are to protect the mineral lines, not so much to protect these queens. As one queen does go down. And yeah, for the most part, Solar is able to defend. Potentially, NightMare could try and kill this spore, but nah, the Lings, they get in position. Solar is ready for this. He's going to be able to drone, saturate his bases, and yeah, he survived the early game. Likewise, NightMare also taking his third. Also is expanding. The Spore did reposition. The DTs, they're looking for damage. They're looking for any kind of stray units, but alas, they cannot find them. And now we have the lair. Now we have mobile detection. And after all said and done, I believe the DTs killed one queen. Yep, one queen, a couple of Lings, a couple of tumors. Not much else, though. So not the best start, but bear in mind that NightMare hasn't lost his DTs. And he can always morph these Dark Templar into... Oh, he can always morph them into Archons. NightMare being very meticulous with his control here does save every single Dark Templar. And again, he should be morphing them into those Archons soon as well. As I say that, it looks like... He's going to be careful. It looks like he was trying to be cheeky, maybe kill some roaches or maybe even deny the space. But because it's an Overseer, again, he has to respect it. He has to back off. Back at home, we have +1 on the way. I believe Blink is done. Yes, Blink is now done. How many gateways do we have? We have 6 gates for the time being. And the army is moving out across the map. The goal here for NightMare is to deny this 4th base. As he moves out... Solar's moving in. We have a Link counterattack looking to rain down upon that 3rd. NightMare did just warp in across the map. I don't think he has any to defend back at home for the time being. The shield battery is going to go down. Yeah, the boys have to be pulled. 3rd base may even fall. NightMare is being forced all in. DTs do waddle in towards the natural base. Can he get the baby? Can he get the bathing nest? Up, up. No, he cannot. Bailey Nest survives. 3rd base is going to go down. NightMare, there's no other way about this. He gets the 4th, but he needs more than the 4th. He's all in. Needs to break Solar here now. Here and now. He needs to break into the natural. He needs to do more damage. Unfortunately, Bailing's speed, it looks like it will finish. NightMare wasn't able to snipe it. He takes his 3rd. Oh. He's got to try and macro out of this. Oh, boy. I mean, this time he is able to hold on to his 3rd base. He's denying creep. looking for a way in. But he just doesn't really have too much of an economy to speak of. He can't afford any warp-ins back at home. Meanwhile, the Lings, they go for another counterattack. Wall. Looks like it's a wall. We're able to hold position to the probes. Nicely done. NightMare versus Disaster. He can now focus on his push, but he's forced to unsiege. Ugh. Again, if he didn't cancel that warp-in, then he would have lost the Prism. NightMare dancing as best he can. The Stalkers, they come in to reinforce, and that's a lot of Stalkers. NightMare, again, the pressure is still on him, and Solar overextended. He's forced to fight off creep. Oh. Ah, but he has too much. Solar has enough. He breaks through the line of Stalkers, and at the same time, even counterattacks as well. Cripples the economy of NightMare once again into the natural, into the third base. And NightMare has nothing left. He has a handful of Stalkers to his name. There was a lot of potential with that push, but I think NightMare's attention was back at home. I think he was forced to warp in back at home and micro and try and hold on to whatever he could. Solar has been able to pull it off. And NightMare, he's gonna try and probe out from here. I mean, can we come back from this? Unfortunately, we even have a Contaminate on the Robo just to make sure we can't make anything. There we go. Disruptor is on the way. Disruptors are a way to come back in this game, sure, but... And they can make up for supply deficits, but there's such a big deficit right now. There's such a big disparity between Solar and NightMare. He's up 80 supply. Disruptors are good. They're not that good, right? I hope not. Hi. One Disruptor in a dream. Let's go, Papi. Let's go. First Disruptor has arrived. I always say they can make up for like a 30 supply disparity. I don't know about an 80 supplies. Nova goes off. Good connection here on the Roaches and Ravagers. But there's still so much more on the ground. The Link Bane rolls on in. It gets into the middle line once again. And NightMare, he just doesn't have enough. Just the numbers are working against him. GG gets called. And Solar will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the next round. GG. Oh. And my condolences to NightMare. I hope I pressed the right button. My condolences to NightMare. He did really well for himself, especially in game 1, taking a lead in this series. He did really well for himself. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to close it out. I do think that he had potential with his DT opener this game, and even last game as well. I think he looked almost a little bit too respectful of Solar, and he was very unwilling to push in and really force the issue. Unfortunately, and with that, Solar takes down NightMare, advances on to the next round. GG. Congratulations. Solar, he gets his revenge. Gets his revenge for what happened in GSL. Oh. And, yeah, with that, he moves on to face his next opponent. And does he have an opponent ready and waiting for him? I think he does. Yeah, he does.